Hello everyone, I am Loganathan from Loga QA Automation channel. Welcome back to our next video in our Python for Testers series. In the last video, we covered the user-defined functions in Python, and then we saw the syntax in which how we can define the Python functions, and then how can we import if a function is defined in one say module of a package, how can we import it to another module or another package and use it. And then also we saw what are the different types in which we can import. Can we import function by function? Can we import all functions together? Can we import a function with an alias? So all those things we have seen. And also we have seen the flexibility, right? The dynamic typing, that is function arguments can take any data type when we call it and when we pass the parameter. And also we have seen overloading is not possible in Python, and also the return statement using which how we can return a value when the function is called, and also how can we return multiple values. So this is what we covered in the last video, and in this video we are going to see a few more details about Python functions. So first is whatever we covered yesterday, we'll go in detail how to return multiple values from a function, and then can we use multiple return statements in function? We'll see. And then how can we have default values for the arguments that we are creating in function? And when we follow the default values, what is the rule that we should remember? And then what is positional argument and what is keyword argument? And then how can we unpack with a star mark and in the argument especially, right? And in the parameters especially, and how can we pack when we use the star key in the arguments. And also we'll use all the collections and pass it to a function as a parameter. And then what is special about dictionary when we pass it as a unpacked values to the function. And then finally we'll see how can we pack the passed values to a function with star mark. With that said, let's straight away jump into the PyCharm. And yesterday we created till test 7. So today I'll start with test 8. So let's first start with a simple function. So let me say it is def, and then I name it as function, or I'll call it as test. And this test will have say 3 variables. And what I do, I'll print these variables, print a, b, c. How can I call this function? So I should call this function as test 1, 2, 3, right? When I call this, it will print 1, 2, 3, because this 1 will be sent to A, 2 will be sent to B, and 3 will be sent to C. And when these variables are used inside the function block, it will print the values of the variables. So that is what is happening here. So now what are we going to see? How can we have multiple return statements? So this function is not returning anything, but if I want to return something, for example, if I pass these 1, 2, 3, then I want to add them, say D is equal to A plus B plus C, and then I want to return this D. Okay, so when I return it, I have to collect it in another variable. So let me say sum is equal to this, and then I'll print sum. So this is printing 6. So far we have covered, and also we have seen another one is sum. This is D is equal to A plus B plus C, and then I'll put it as say M is equal to A star B star C. It means A multiplied by B, and then B multiplied by C, A multiplied B, and then multiplied by C. So that is what this statement means. And I'll put this before return statement, because after return statement, whatever I write, that will become unbreachable. So return will be the last statement in our function. Okay, now I am returning both D, M. Let's see what it is printing. It is going to print something. Yeah. So in this case, both are same. So let me try to add a small difference. So it is 7, 8. So 1, 2, 4 I am passing. 1 plus 2 plus 4 is 7. 1 into 2 into 4 is 8. So those are the results we are seeing here. that is good. But it is coming as a tuple. If you closely observe, it is coming as a tuple, but that tuple is getting stored in the variable sum and we are printing it here. Okay, so what are we doing here? I told you this is called packing, right? Because two values are combined together and gets created as one variable, and that variable is passed as a return, and that return is stored in sum. So this is called packing. All right, now we see how to return multiple values. But can we have multiple return types? Yes, that is also possible. What I do is, here first variable, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a condition. Okay, if instead of a, I'll say that operation. Okay, if operation is equal to add, then what you do, return a plus b. I'll change this as a comma b. And then if operation is say multiplication, mul, then I'll do a star b and then I'll return a star b. If anything else, what is happening here? There is something going wrong. Let me read it. Missing return statement and some paths. Yeah, there is, I should add one more return. Let me see. Operation is invalid, I'll say. Not supported. Okay. So what I have done in this function test, I have 3 return statements, and at any point in time only one return statement will get executed. So that is the reason this is allowing me to have multiple return statements. So how can we use this? Say result is equal to, I'll say test add comma 2 comma 3. Okay, print result. Let's see what it does. So it is adding 2 plus 3, and I'll do the same now. This time instead of add, I'll say mul, and I'll run this. So it is 6, 2 cross 3 is 6, it is printing. This time I'll say divide, but it is not yet implemented. So I will put div. What will happen? It will say operation is not supported. So what have I done? I am returning a value based on a condition that I have created inside my function. So that is the reason the function is allowing me to have multiple return statements. So if there is a question asked, can we have multiple returns inside a function? The answer is yes, but at any point in time, there will be only one return statement get executed, and after which it will get returned. It will go to the control will go to the caller function. Okay, the function where it is called. So that's how we need to tackle this. And we already see this multiple return values, nothing but a tuple will get returned. Next, we'll move to the default argument values. It's an interesting feature of Python, which you don't see in Java and other control Z. Let this be there. I'll create a new test. I'll name it as test 9. Okay, as I said, how to define some default values. Let me first explain you when we need it. Okay, so I'll say def, I'm defining a function, I'll name it as test, and then I take 2 arguments, a comma b, and then what I'm going to do is print a comma b. It's a very simple function that I'm writing. And now say I'm calling it with 3 comma 2. What will happen? This will simply print 3 and 2. But instead, if I just put 3, the function takes 2 arguments, but while calling I'm passing only one parameter. What is going to happen? It is going to throw an error saying that missing one required, note this word, positional argument. So these are positional arguments, and out of 2 arguments I'm sending only one value. So it is saying it is missing one positional argument for b. That too it is missing for b. So then what I need to do, I have to enter it. What if I add more values or more parameters while I'm calling. Let's see. So here you see that 3 is taken for A and then 2 is taken for B, and then the one that I've entered, it doesn't have any mapping. So let's see what is going to happen. So now this says test function takes 2 positional arguments but 3 were given. So it takes only 2 but you have given me 3. That is the message Python is saying. So from here what we are understanding is there must be always one-to-one mapping between the number of arguments we have in function definition and number of parameters that we have in function call. So that you need to keep in mind. Can we have some workaround to handle this situation? Yes. So that is completely possible. How can we do it? We'll see now. So let me have this b equal to 1. Okay, if I put b is equal to 1 in the argument, what it means is this b becomes first of all optional argument or optional parameter when it gets called, and then very importantly this gets the default value 1. So I'll pass this time 4. Okay, let's see what is happening. So you see that 3 and 4 are printed because though the default value of b is 1, when you pass a value that will overwrite the default value. That is why you are saying 3 and 4. But if I don't pass a value, if I simply put test of 3, what's going to happen? It prints 3, 1. The reason is this time I did not give any value to b. So the b is taking the default value and it is printing. So this becomes optional, a becomes mandatory, right? So a becomes a mandatory argument and b becomes optional argument. Now let me see. I'll add one more, c. One more parameter I'm adding to this function. So let me print a, b, c. And here I'm putting 3, 4, 5. And here I'm adding only 3. I'll come to it later. I'll first finish this. So here what I'm trying to do, I'm creating a function, and in this function I have 3 arguments. Out of these 3 arguments, I'm making the second argument as optional. Will it allow me to do? Let's see. It says no, syntax error. Parameter without a default follows parameter with the default. So what it says, it is not allowed. Why? The rule is, I'll go back to the slide and I'll tell you that it is right to left rule. So when you want to implement the default arguments, then it has to start from the right. So a, b, c is equal to 1. If you put, then it will not create any issues. And after you make this as optional, then you are allowed to make b as optional. So I'll make b as optional and I'll put say 0, or for everything I'll give 0. Okay, c is 0, b 0. So now first we made c as 0, then we made b as 0, and last we can make a also to 0. So it is now all have default values, right? Now I'll try test 1, 2, 3. Let me run this. So it prints 1, 2, 3. Now let me try test 1, 2. I'll run this. It says 1, 2, 0 because the third parameter is defaulted to 0. Now let me try test of 1. Let me run this. So it becomes a becomes 1 because it overrides, and other 2 becomes 0, 0. Got it? So this is how you can create default values for your parameters, and after which you can utilize it. The natural question that you'll get now is, how can I pass values to a and c and skip b? Will it be possible? For example, say if someone wants to pass a value to a and b, say 1, empty, 3. So what they are trying to do is they want to pass 1 to a, 3 to c, but b should take the default value. Will it be possible? No, in Python it is not possible with this argument. That is, with the positional argument it will not be possible. That is where this keyword arguments are coming into play. What is keyword argument? You are going to pass it as a key value, right? So test, I say a is equal to 1, c is equal to 3. When I do this, as you see, the A gets 1 and then C gets 3. The argument name should be exactly same as the parameter name that I'm using here. Only then it will work. Okay, I'm saying A is equal to 1, C is equal to 3. In this case, B will get defaulted to 0. See, now the B got defaulted to 0, 1, 0, 3. So this is how you can play. Either you can use positional arguments or you can use keyword arguments. But when to use keyword arguments? If you want to skip some of the arguments which are in between defined in the argument order. So that is when you can use, or you can use it even without these defaults also you can use. For example, I don't want to modify this. Instead I'll create a new function, def test2, and then I'll name it as a, b, c, and print. I'll just put everything twice. Okay, 2a, 2b, 2c. Okay, now I'll call this function test2 is equal test2. When I'm calling, I can say a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3, and c is equal to 4. Right, let me run this now. Why is it giving me? Okay, I put minus. Nice. So now you see that 2, 3, 4 are multiplied by 2 and then they are given as an result here. So what does it mean? Even though you don't define the default values, you still you can use the keyword arguments, and keyword arguments need not to be in the correct order. As long as the key and arguments, right, are matching, it can be in any order. So let me pass now B as 15 and A as 12. I'll leave C at the end. You see that 24, 38. So should I maintain the order when I'm using keyword argument? Not required at all, because you are already clearly defining which value should be assigned to which argument. So you don't need to follow the order. Okay, hope this is clear about what is positional argument and what is keyword argument. Positional argument must be in the right order and position. Keyword argument need not to be in the correct order. Only thing that you need to keep in mind is the key and argument that you are using should be same. They are case sensitive. You cannot use capital B here. Okay, if you use capital B, it's going to throw an error. It says test2 got unexpected keyword argument capital B, right? So you cannot use it. So you have to use the same case when you are passing the keyword. All right, it is working. Next, we'll go with unpacking. What is unpacking? So we saw this. So first of all, what I'll do is I'll cover what we have seen already. So let me create a new file, test 10. So what we have seen, say A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, C is equal to 30. How can we do this now? Instead of writing it in 3 different lines, I can say A, B, C is equal to 10, 20, 30, right? So here I'll print A, B, C, and here also I'll print A, B, C. What is it doing? So instead of having 3 lines, I can put in 1 line. This is parallel assignment, right? So parallelly I'm assigning it in 3 variables. So next thing what I can do is, instead of having these values here, I can put them in a list. Am I correct? So say list 1 is equal to, I put it as 10, 20, 30. And here I want to assign these values. How can I assign? Say list 1 of 0, list 1 of 1, list 1 of 2. So this is also possible. So let me run this and show you. So here I made a mistake, list 1. Okay, so 10, 20, 30. I can do it in this way. Same thing, how can I achieve using a packing or unpacking method? So instead of calling 0, 1, 2, I can simply use a star and then I can pass this variable. You see? Now let me run this. What is it saying? Syntax error, can't use starred expression here. Maybe I'm doing a mistake. Let me check this out. Yeah, what I'm doing is incorrect. I'll tell you why. It has to be used inside a function call, only then this is going to work. So what I was trying to do here is, I'll cut all these, okay? So far you understood how to use the parallel assignment. Next we'll move to how can we unpack and pack when we are passing it in parameters and arguments. So let me do it. Say I have a function def test. It takes 3 arguments, a, b, c, and then it prints a. Okay, now I want to pass these 3 values. Now I want to pass these 3 values. So that is where I was telling you that I can have it in a list. List 1 is equal to, say I have 10, 20, 30. Okay. So now I need to call this function test. How can I call? Test of list 1 of 0, list 1 of 1, then list 1 of 2. So I can call it in this way. And when I run this, you see that 10, 20, 30 are printed. Instead of me doing this spread, okay, what I can do is I can unpack using the star list 1. So I'll comment this. And now you see that the same 10, 20, 30 are printed. Why? Because this star unpacks this list and sends it to test function as parameters. But remember, here I have only 3 values. That's why it is working correct. If I put one more value, one more element, and if I do, what will happen? It will say it takes only 3 positional arguments, but 4 were given. So that you need to keep in mind. Okay. So this is unpacking and then sending the values in parameters, right? Unpacking and passing the parameter. This is one example. Next, I'll go with, here what I'm doing, I'm creating 3 arguments, right? Instead I just want to go with 1 argument. So that is when I use packing the arguments. And now instead of star a, I'll first print a and then I'll tell you how to do it. So this time I'll use list 2 and this one is test 2, and then I call test 2 with star list 2. So let me take this out to make it a little easier for reading. So what I'm doing, I have a list which is 10, 20, 30, and then I'm unpacking it while calling the function 2 and I'm sending it to test 2. And this test 2 function gets the values and it is packing it. So it doesn't matter whether you are sending 3 values, it doesn't matter you are sending 1 value, what it will do, it will just put everything in one variable and then it will print. Let's see what is the data type of this a, because now it is a list. This list is getting unpacked and sent, but when it is printing a, let's see what is it printing. What is it printing? It is printing a tuple. So remember, this can be any collection type. Any collection type you can unpack and send as parameter. But when the function gets it and packs it in a variable and uses it, it will be used as a tuple. So that you need to remember. Okay. So if you want to use the first value, then you have to use a of 0, right? and then similarly print af1, or I'll put everything in one line, af0, af1, and then af2. All good. Let me run this. So 10, 20, 30. Now this is printing in separate as separate values. Now what will happen if I simply increase the number of elements? What happened? Okay, here I'm printing only till 2. So what I do, okay, every time then I have to print this. Instead I'll write a for loop. Since it is a tuple, I'll write a for loop. For I in A, what I'm going to do, print I, but with end is equal to, I'll give a space. And then I should use print, not here, after the for print. Okay, let me run this. See, now I have till 50 and all 50 are printed. And if I increase to 60, all 6 numbers are printed. So I don't need to worry about increasing the size of the list when I'm using this packing concept inside the function argument. Okay, now I'll ask you a simple question. What will happen if I don't pass any parameters while I'm calling test2? Any guess? It prints empty tuple. So if you are using a packing argument in your function, then even if you don't send any parameter, it will not throw an error because it will consider it as a empty tuple. Remember that. Okay, so these are some small nuances when it comes to functions, and we have covered until unpacking and unpacking with star. So far we have covered. Now we'll see how to do this unpacking for all collections. Okay, so now we have seen it only for list, right? So let me create a new file, new Python file, test11. So first of all, let's say what are the collections we have. We have set, we have tuple, we have range, then we have string, then we have set, we have frozen set, right? Then we have dictionary. So these are the collections we have seen in Python so far. So let me cover all those things one by one. So first I'll create a function, def test a comma b comma c, then print a comma b comma c. All right, so first, what is it? Set. I did a mistake. This is list. Okay, list, tuple, range, string, set, frozen set, dictionary. Hope I covered all the collections here. Okay, first is list 1. I go with 10, 20, 30. Next, let's create a tuple. Tuple 1. Tuple should be in the regular brackets, right? 10, 20, 30. Next is what? Range. So range 1 is equal to, so range of, how can I get 10, 20, 30 here? 10 comma 40 comma, say 10 is the step count. So this you all know, right? Already range. So range means we need to give the start value, we need to give the end value. This end value will not be included in the range, and then this is the step count. So start value is 10. So first it will print 10. Then what will be the next value? It has to increase by 10. So next value will be 20. The next value will be 30. Will it go to the next value 40? No, because that is the last end point and this should not be included. That's why this will also become 10, 20, 30. That is range. And then let's go with string. String is equal to, yeah, here is the small confusion. Then what I do, I'll go with 1. Oh, it's okay. Let me go with string, say I'll go with cat. Okay. Next I'll go with set. How to define a set? 10, 20, 30. Within curly braces we need to put the set. And what is frozen set? Frozen set is equal to set 1. I'll use set 1. And then frozen set 1. So here we need to use the keyword frozen set. And then we'll have to use brackets. Okay, and then dictionary finally. Dictionary 1 is equal to, what is the keyword we need to use? Dict. Either we need to use dict or we can simply use the curly braces and we can start giving. But remember what I'm doing, just make a note of it. 10 colon apple and then comma 20 colon orange and then I'll give 30 colon say papaya. Okay, so this is a dictionary that I've created with key value pairs. Let's see how this packing unpacking works here. Okay, I'm going to call test with list 1, but I'm going to use this star v. I'm going to use test star tuple 1, test star range 1, test star string, let me give this a string 1, I'll use string 1 here, test star test set 1, test frozen 1, test star dictionary 1. Good. Have we covered everything? Yes. Let's run this and see how it goes. So as you see, all collections can be unpacked and passed as argument, and that can be taken and then can be printed here. This time, instead of using a comma b comma c, what I'll do, I'll simply use star a. What is it doing? It is packing everything into a, and I'll print a directly. I'm not going to use any for loop or anything. You just see how it goes. So everything is converted into tuple. No matter what collection type you are passing here as parameter and you are unpacking and passing, it always packs into tuple. Okay, this you need to remember. And now let's come to a very important point. When it comes to dictionary, when you use this star to unpack, what is it unpacking? Is it unpacking keys or is it unpacking values? Yes, it is unpacking the keys, not the values. Is there a way to unpack the values? Yes, we have a way. Okay, but we cannot go with this method for it. For that, I have to create one more function called test2. What I do, diff test2, and here I'll use a comma b comma c. Okay, and then I'll print a comma b comma c. And this time what I do, I'll call test2 with double star dictionary 1. Now I'm doing a mistake, so I'll have to create another dictionary now. So here I'll have to say a colon 10 comma b colon 20 comma c colon 30. So this is the dictionary 2 I'm creating, and now this dictionary 2 can be passed to test2 using this double star. When I use this double star, now you will see it is printing 10, 20, 30. Let me use a separator so that it will become very clear for you. Print to 20. So let me run this. You see, after the separator, this prints, this is working. When this is working, what is it doing? This time it is not unpacking the keys. This time it is unpacking the values. But what you need to carefully note here is the keys that I'm using in dictionary and the arguments values, right? The variable names, those should match. Only then it will work. Instead of a equal to 10, if I say x is equal to 10, let's see, x, y, z, will it work? No, it is throwing error. It says unexpected keyword argument. It is not expecting it, so we cannot pass. So x, a, b, c. Okay, that is the speciality about dictionary and how can we unpack and pack and pass it to a function. So I know we are covering many things in functions for Python. Okay, the reason is Python is too flexible. Okay, so Python is giving us too many options or too many features to play around with this function, and I'll cover few more in the next video. But if you ask me, will we use all these in our automation framework or testing purpose? My answer may be no, but still it is good to understand all these nuances. The reason is, as we all know, the AI is kicking in and AI is going to write code. If AI is writing code and you are the one who is going to review them and ensure that the code it is writing is correct, or in case if it is not working, you are the one who is going to maintain it. If you do not know these, it will be very hard for you to debug all these. If you just know only the basics of function, it will be very hard for you to debug all those code that will be written by AI. So when you are learning Python, learn as much as the nuances, so that if you are using it, use it with your basic way of writing functions. But if something else is writing the code and you want to correct it or you want to take control over it, you can do it when you are learning it in this way. Okay, that is the reason I'm covering all. So again, I'm saying this is not yet over. I'll be covering few more in the next video. Stay tuned. Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, keep growing. Bye.